Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's Katie Gillen with the news at 10 o'clock. Gardaí are appealing for information after 2 men died and 2 more were seriously injured in a collision in Castlefin on Friday night. Friends Ryan Glenn and Gordy Galbraith died when the car they were in was in direct collision with another car on the N15 in Liscooley at around 10 o'clock. A man and a woman in their 70s who were travelling in the other vehicle were taken to Letterkenny University Hospital, where they currently are in a serious condition in the intensive care unit. Garda Inspector Seamus McGonigal has this appeal.
We're appealing for anybody who was on the road between Stranraer and Castlefin between 9:30pm and 10pm on Friday evening gone by. And if they noticed anything of note, and even if they didn't, if they've got dash cam footage, if they could provide that to us, again, our contact details, Letterkenny, Gardaí 07491 67 100, or the confidential line 1800 666 111. And if I may also, Greg, just thank those people who assisted us at the scene on Friday evening, both people, drivers and people in cars, but also some of the local residents who assisted us. And
a clean-up operation is continuing in Killybegs, where local businesses and residents have been left reeling following serious flooding over the weekend. Storm Bert hit the county with heavy rain and thawed snow combining to contribute to the flood. Waters rose to around 1.2 metres, with a number of residents being displaced and accessing emergency accommodation. Cahirlock of Donegal County Council Councillor Niamh Kennedy says the OPW must now step up to ensure better flood defences are in place.
A lot of debris seems to be coming down through farms. The farmers, you see, would have got money before years ago to make sure that their streams and whatever was cleared. That has stopped a long time ago. So the OPW need to step up now. There has been meetings afoot, throughout nationally to speak about these flood events and to speak about these disasters that are going to happen into the future. It's nothing new to any of us. Unfortunately, it's going to be more of a regular occurrence unless we put in the mitigation measures to prevent it.
A motion will come before Donegal County Council today calling for the new government to establish an independent statutory judicial public inquiry into the Creasa explosion within its first 100 days. The motion is being put forward at the November plenary meeting by Councillor Frank McBurty, who will be calling on all elected members to support the motion. He says it is what the families need in order to establish the truth of what happened. He also says the government must ensure it is independent, the terms of reference are open, and that the families of the victims are legally represented and guaranteed full legal aid. Housing and childcare are on the election campaign agenda today. It comes just days ahead of polling in what's expected to be a tight election. Political correspondent Sean Defoe reports.
There are less than 100 hours left now until polls open and voting proper begins, and the party leaders will spend as much of that time as possible on the road trying to round up every last vote. Homelessness will feature heavily today as Sinn Féin is calling for the monthly emergency accommodation numbers to be published early. The leader tours continue across the country before the last big set piece of the campaign, the leaders' debate, tomorrow night.
Meanwhile, Fine Gael, Fianna Fáil and Sinn Féin's reliance on corporate tax receipts are being described as really risky. They are relying on those revenues continuing in their manifestos, but the Business Post reports they could disappear. It's warning of a huge risk from the financial holes in their manifestos, as things could change with the re-election of Donald Trump. Trinity College Dublin Assistant Professor of Economics Barra Rowntree says if US firms based here go back, it'll put our economy at risk.
What they've told us, the American politicians, Donald Trump's new incoming administration, have told us is that they think those companies should be paying tax back in the US. They think those companies should be producing drugs, pharmaceuticals in the US that currently are produced in Ireland and exported to the US. So there's a good chance that changes. And if it does, it has the potential to really have a negative impact on not just our public finances, but also the wider economy.
And now for the weather. Today will bring a mix of sunshine and scattered showers, some heavy with the chance of hail and isolated thunderstorms. Highest afternoon temperatures of 7 to 9 degrees and continuing windy for a time, but with the winds moderating through the day. That's all from the newsroom for now. We'll be back with the headlines at 11 o'clock. After the obituary notices, we will have the first of our pre-general election debates. The obituary notices for this Monday morning, November 25th. The death has taken place of Hugh Canning, Carrow Hugh Greencastle, reposing at his home. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 10:30 for 11 o'clock funeral mass, followed by interment in Ballybrack graveyard. Rosary at 9 o'clock with family time from 10 o'clock. Family flowers only please, donations in lieu if desired to the Donegal Hospice, care of any family member or Eamon McLaughlin, funeral director. The death has occurred of Mary Connolly, née Bradley, 11 Shannogue Road, Killen, Castledurg. Funeral from the family home this morning at 10:15 for Requiem Mass at 11 o'clock in St Patrick's Church, Castledurg. Interment afterwards in St Mary's Cemetery, Cairncorn. The Mass can be viewed via the parish webcam. Family flowers only please, donations in lieu if desired to Slieve na Mone Care Centre, care of Charles Lynch, funeral director.
It's time to let the people in your life know how much they mean to you by sending them a parcel packed with goodies or a handwritten card. Don't miss the opportunity to send post to those who matter most. Send magic with Christmas stamp booklets and prepaid packaging. You can buy them in-app, online and at your local post office. Send Christmas love now. On Post for your world. See onpost.com/Christmas to find out more. T's and C's apply.
Going out. Indeed we are. OK, you are very welcome along to the second hour of the 9 till noon show. And over the course of the next 2 hours, we're going to be engaging on our first election debate as we gear up for Friday. It's hard to believe it's Friday that everyone will be going out to vote, hopefully. And over the next 3 days, as I mentioned, we have 3 panels of guests and all seeking your votes. So what we might do is give each of our guests this morning a chance, I suppose, for you to know who's here, but for them to sort of explain why they believe you should vote for them. And we're going to be in and around a minute. I'll cut across if it runs on too long, but we'll not be too tough on you either. So we'll say a very good morning first to Pat the Cope Gallagher of Fianna Fáil. Pat the Cope, why do you believe people should vote for you in this general election?
Well, I'm one who has considerable experience at both local, national and European level over many years. I haven't been in the Dáil for the last 4.5 years. In fact, I have been working quietly over those 4.5 years on behalf of people who made contact with me. And while I lost my seat, I didn't lose my contacts. And I have a seamless period now, going back into the 80s. I have a lot of experience, I have a lot of contacts, and I do believe that if elected, I can hit the ground running and deal with the many issues that are affecting our county here in Donegal.
Yeah, we'll run through those issues, of course, as we go through this morning. Arthur Desmond McGuinness running as an independent. Why you? Why should people vote for you?
Hey, that's because I agree. Because I've been in this game since I was about 10 years old with the NTB, right? And we went out canvassing, and my father told me, right? He's dead now, but I spent a lot of time, and I love politics, right? I grew up with it. Yeah, but and people. I'm from a great family. You know, I had 2 brothers, and your mum, she's 90, right? And we're very Catholic, and we're down there, so if you elect me, I'll do my best for you.
Okay, well, we'll come back and hear much more from you, of course. Frank O'Donnell running as an independent also.
Yeah, I'm very active in politics all my life. I'm a community activist. I was a senior shop steward for 20 years in Kilkenny University Hospital. I know the thrust of what is expected of politicians to fight for and lobby on behalf of their constituents. So while at University Hospital in Kilkenny, I was there. I wore a T-shirt fighting for the rights of the colleagues. So I don't think this is a step up. I'm used to what, as I said, I'm used to the cut and thrust of politics, and I think I can give something back to the community that has been deprived of all services. We are we're meant to be one of the richest countries in Europe, and if we took a measurement on the services, we would be the last in Europe. So it's about time people like myself and independents like myself said enough is enough. So that's why I put myself forward.
Yeah, indeed. And thank you very much for calling in to us. Jerry McKeever.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. I'm independent candidate Jerry McKeever. I caught Greg's 9 to 12 show last Friday, and I think it was Eamon McGee who said that he was yet to hear a candidate talk about a vision for Ireland. From the start, my campaign, my policies have been about my vision. I want to see an Ireland that our young don't want or need to leave. An Ireland, a home that our immigrants can come back to. My vision revolves around a housing policy that does not regard 300,000 plus as affordable. Within this policy, it can mean 160,000. This is not fanciful. The technology is there now. And other European countries are embracing this concept of affordable homes. Make Ireland an affordable country to live in again. Fix our defective block disaster. Tackle our cost of living crisis, tackle our homelessness problem, keep our young and our well-trained workers in Ireland, protect our tourism trade and corporate Ireland with all its revenue, and give people disposable income to support local businesses. These policies are national, but they're also local. The rising tide lifts all boats. Vote for Jerry McKeever and plant the seed to kickstart the new initiative. Please check me out on my social media, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, etc.
Yeah, thanks for the next 2 hours here as well. All right.
Oh, very much so, very much so. Great.
Fine Gael's John McNulty. Good morning, John.
Morning, Greg. My name is John McNulty for the listeners. Good morning. My name is John McNulty. I'm a business person. I have a Mace petrol station in Stranraer, and I'm also the Donegal Senior Ladies Football Manager. I suppose I operate a small business. I say, and a lot of family connections across the county. I'm also a part-time farmer, believe, as well, which I think is important when you're with the grassroots as well. Also, I'm deeply involved in sport. I know the value organisations like the Ladies Gaelic Football Association and the GA bring to the local communities in terms of mental and physical health. I want to work hard for all our communities, including those affected by the defective concrete crisis. And I also believe that Donegal, if Fine Gael return to government, Donegal need a TD inside that government reflecting the hopes and aspirations of the people of the county.
Okay, Mary T. Sweeney Vaintu.
Okay, good morning, Greg. Good morning, listeners. My name is Mary T. Sweeney. I'm a proud Donegal woman. My career spans a variety of lecturing and three-dimensional design, auctioneering, estate agent, with a lot of rural community where I've worked with them. I have experience of working with people from across the divide. I will be fearless to speak out to achieve successful outcomes for the people of Donegal, because for some reason the people of Ireland are no longer being listened to. They don't have the same freedom to express their concerns without being labelled one way or another. Government parties, they've not been listening to the people, as we've seen in the recent referenda. A founder member of Aintu, very proud that we started Aintu almost 6 years ago. It's a new party led by Pater Tobin, and he's been tireless in the Dáil, standing up for the concerns of the people across Ireland. I'm chairwoman of the Letterkenny Hospital Action Committee to highlight the concerns in our HSE and our health board, which all needs restructured. I've been highlighting the crumbling homes from the start, and accountability is a word that's no longer used by the Irish government. We need to put it back in and start holding people to account.
Okay, and last, just for this round table of introductions, Pierce Doherty of Sinn Féin.
Greg, agus Míle Buíochas go bhfuil Shaw. I'm Pierce Doherty. I'm a sitting TD, and in this election I'm asking people to re-elect me to the Dáil, not just as a TD, but I want to be serving in the next government. Sinn Féin want to lead the next government. I want to be the Minister for Finance. And I have 4 young boys at home. Some of them now are in their late teens, and I see them looking and worrying about their future. I see this county as a forgotten county by successive governments, and I want to put an end to that. So not only do I want people to have a TD here in the county. I want them to have a finance minister, because I will be the person that will make the money available for 100% redress end-to-end scheme, unlike any other party that can lead the next government. I will be the minister who will make sure that the cost of living issues are dealt with, so that we can have, for example, abolition of the USC for the first €45,000 that people pay in their wages, that we can have childcare at €10 a day, that we actually don't proceed with what Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael are planning, which is to jack up the price of petrol and diesel every single year up until 2030. And I am the minister that would stop the waste. So I'm asking people to put your faith in not only me, but the Sinn Féin team here. Let us lead the next government. Let us show you what we can do. Let us end the domination of Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, who've had 100 years and have resulted in this county being forgotten, and people like my children having less hope than they should have.
All right, well, let's start with health. You would know that the consultants here in Letterkenny and other healthcare advocates launched a 5-point plan. They're demanding election candidates to commit to real improvements in local healthcare. So I suppose I'll start with you, Pierce, if that's okay. You know, a lot of people listening today don't believe that the solution to our health crisis is chucking money in it, right? So how would you, or how would Sinn Féin genuinely improve the health service here in Donegal, reduce wait times, get people through the system more quickly? How do you achieve that in government?
Well, let me say this, Greg, because I have huge respect for everybody who's standing in this election, regardless of whether they're independent or for political parties. But what we see in our hospital here isn't a result of the nurses or the doctors who work in there. It is because of political decisions that have either underfunded or have created recruitment embargoes in terms of that hospital. And we see that very, very real right here, right now. I was canvassing in Gweedore, and there's a young nurse here who can't get a permanent contract. I was out in Ballybofey, and there's a physiotherapists who've moved back to the county who can't get a permanent contract in this area. There's 400 families right across this county who can't get home help packages because this government have placed an embargo. Now, think about those families. These are people, in some cases, that are in a hospital who are medically discharged but can't go home because there's no package there.
Let me ask you in relation to that. Why are there no additional hours for home care packages in Donegal, but there's no waiting list for that service in Dublin? Like, what is the problem there that you fix? So, because the people you talk of and the examples you give, they're the people listening. They know that, right? So, what is the problem that Donegal has no extra hours? You can get home care straight away in Dublin. That's a problem. How do you fix it in government?
Well, first of all, what you do is you don't put in place an embargo. You don't place an embargo. Remember who these people are. These are people who may have had an operation in hospital, who may be sick, who may be recovering from cancer, who want to be home with their loved ones, and they need a bit of extra support. They don't want to be in a nursing home, they don't want to be in the hospital, and they're fit to be at home. And Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael have placed an embargo, which have left 400 families in a situation where they're at. So the first thing you do, Greg, you don't place an embargo on home help hours. You also do not...
But there's no embargo in Dublin.
Because the need is not as great as in Donegal. What we have in Donegal, which is really, really good, and we should try and continue it, more of our people are cared for at home than they are in nursing homes. We have a lower percentage of our communities in nursing homes, and that's really important because it's actually cost effective as well, and that's why it is. So there was a certain amount of hours allocated to Donegal, and because people needed those hours, we have a situation now where people... Really what they're having to do, and this is absolutely terrible, is they have to wait for somebody to pass away. They have to wait for a neighbour to die.
And also it leaves people in an acute hospital that shouldn't be there. Patrick O'Gallagher, this is something you've referenced yourself, right? Okay, so, I mean, your government has been, or your party has been in power for quite some time, and this situation persists. Is it a bit of dual speak, or might the electorate think it's a little dual speak when you've highlighted home care as one of the big issues in the health service, but you're running for a party that sort of, some might say, is responsible for the situation we find ourselves in right now? So what will change next time round?
First of all, let me tell the listeners, when I'm running for a party, I will not be bound by party rules. I will speak out on behalf of the people of Donegal. And, of course, the home help hours, I have had an exchange of communications with Minister Simon Donnelly regarding this when some of those that I hope to represent in the future have been told you cannot get home help until such time as someone passes on. So we have a substantial increase in home help hours, but I'm not saying that that's enough. This home help should be demand-led. and not otherwise. And we must ensure that additional funding is provided, because those who are providing the home help are ensuring that those who are in hospital, medically discharged, that can get home, they can be looked after there. But now it's a disastrous situation when people are waiting until someone dies. It's not good enough, and it's not acceptable.
And just
so
one
therefore,
question.
we must now, if I can just say, we must increase the hours, and to say that those in Department of Health will say Donegal have had a substantial increase in home help hours. Not much telling somebody in Dunlow you have to wait until somebody dies in Gweedore or elsewhere. This is something which I won't accept. And furthermore, it's causing a backup in the hospitals. Those who are medically discharged cannot get out.
And I
If
respect
there
again.
was a study done on this, these people are saving the country millions and millions. I'm not defending it.
This election is really important, and we need to be honest. It's a Fianna Fáil minister, Pat, and you have never ever voted against Fianna Fáil in your life in the Dáil. These are budget decisions that you have supported in your time of 40 years in politics, which has resulted in Donegal being the forgotten county. So these families, it's grand talking about them here in Highland Radio, but when you go up to Dublin, these decisions are taken by your party colleague, the Minister for Health, which has left Letterkenny completely underfunded. People waiting 27 hours in A&E. Our consultants and our GPs coming out saying that this hospital is in serious trouble. And that is a result not of individuals. And what we don't need is people talking out. We need action. We need government to act. And that's the problem here.
Now, just one thing. I just said, Pierce, that this must be demand-led. And if it's demand-led...
But your party won't do it. You're standing for Fianna Fáil, Pat.
You must remember... Hold on. In the last 15 years, I've only been in the Dáil 4.5 years out of those 15 years, and I was never afraid to speak up.
And you voted every time for them.
You voted every time for Sinn Féin.
I voted,
You know how the political system operates, Piers, and there's no point in trying to...
I do, Pat.
This is political opportunism by you attacking me.
No.
I always... And you never abstained from any votes by Sinn Féin.
I will always vote. I will always vote for additional investment in Donegal. I will always vote for additional investment in our healthcare. You can't say the same thing because you voted for budgets that underfunded the hospital. Okay. So when we're talking to patients there that can't get treatment, the reasons is because of Fianna Fáil policies. That's the reality, Pat.
Who established the hospital in Letterkenny.
Okay, I do want to bring others in. Brilliant stuff, fantastic. I will get everybody in on this. Jerry McKeever, Independent. Okay, I mean you, and I think too. I just want this to be solution focused as well, right? Because everyone knows the problems, and a lot of these debates. And I'm not saying people can't do that, but it's about what we all know, what needs to be done, how we need to fix it, right? So people want to know, if you're elected as an independent, okay, what do you believe that you could do to fix some of the problems in the healthcare that's been discussed so far?
Going from that angle, if I get elected, I would intend to find a group, maybe new independents possibly, who will have a new vision to do things differently. I will align myself maybe with a group who will do things right. Talking about this argument between the two boys, the two men here, there's a lot of emotion involved, of course, but from a point of view of a government basically has to do the sums. If they need, I suppose, in a sense, put the empathy and the concern aside, do the sums, make sure the sums are done right. And from my point of view, at the end of the day, for someone to go home and have a home help or care well paid, this is always going to be cheaper than a hospital bed. And you can look at it from all sorts of angles, but this is the government's job to make sure the books are balanced. This is what they do. And from another angle, the Scandinavian countries get it right. Why do we not cherry pick? Why do we not find out what other countries are doing properly and cherry pick and do those things right? I'll take another minute. I want to be fairly concise, Greg. I know there's a lot to do. Many of you here will remember the Jerry Robinson programme that was made in the 90s on the BBC, a three-parter, I think. He went into Rotherham Hospital, which was dysfunctional. He went in and he fixed the hospital in the space of 3 months. Yes, he spoke to management, unions, etc., workers. Through basic respect, common sense and business acumen, he sorted it out. And a year later he went back to see that it was still working. And it was still working. The NHS then used that as a template to fix it. And up until 10 years ago, the NHS was probably regarded as one of the greatest health givers in the world. Now, basically, we need someone in government who's going to be a Minister for Health, who has decency, who has respect, who can tackle these problems, who maybe has people under him, who know what they're doing. We need to get this sorted out. We need respect for unions, respect for workers, and maybe people say it's not the money, and I've heard a few candidates speaking about the fact that it's not the money's the point of view. You give more money to Letterkenny Hospital, they will outsource work and make it even a lesser hospital. That's not the money. We need to get people in there who give a damn, who want to get it right and sort it out. Hope it's concise enough for you, Greg.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Don't worry about
I don't want
it.
to dominate the mic.
We don't have it. I don't feel like we've got a history, but we don't. That's all good. Mary T. Sweeney of Ain't too. Again, we know the problems. What's the solutions?
The solution is you mustn't take this as a single strand. This is a multi-tier strand. One of the things we have neglected to mention is the management of the hospital. If it was a private business, would you allow those that are still managing the hospital to manage it? We need to change that. There are main things that Ain't are...
Can I just say one thing about the manager? Because I'm very conscious
the manager. I didn't say manager.
The management. Sorry, I misspoke. You didn't. Like, we had the consultants on about the 5-point plan, right? Equitable funding, implementation of Model T3 surgical hub for Donegal. And I asked about the management, and they said it's not the management's issue here. They're plugging away trying to get funding and putting the applications in and all that type of stuff. Like, would you accept that? It seems that the healthcare advocates are happy enough with how it's managed locally, but you wouldn't be?
Well, I've talked to consultants, and I've talked to consultants and asked them why they've left. And they said, because there's a lack when you knock at a manager's door to get support, as in the management of the hospital, that door's not opening and that door's not working.
OK, go on to the other points you're going to make. Sorry, Mary T.
You're flitting over something that's very important, and that's the carers situation. Carers are saving this state 20 billion on estimate a year. That is a phenomenal resource. And we need to enforce the fact that we have to really prioritise the number of people in our communities that are actively working as carers and give them the support they need that will reduce the people that are in hospital and what they call bed blockers. There's only 16 when I looked last year that were long-term bed blockers over 6 months, but 16 is 16 beds too many. OK, I have a stat for it here somewhere, but that's the reality of it. Going back to the...
And of course, then we also have people in waiting 10 days for a scan. Who effectively are taken up in acute hospital beds. Sorry, continue, Mary T, briefly.
Right. The reality is 35,000 management and administrative staff work within the HSE. That's 1 in 4. We want to remove some of the top, as they retire, remove some of the top tier management, and we need to review and assess what is the best way forward from a management point of view. Okay. The next thing is, number 2 for me, is we also need to improve the workforce planning. Currently, over half of all undergraduate medical students in Irish universities are from outside the EU. I have 3 children, all of them in healthcare. I am listening to this from 3 different perspectives in healthcare every day of the week, basically, and they tell me from the inside what's missing. I have somebody working with a dementia unit at the moment, and the elderly Irish patients can't understand because of the language barrier. These are basic issues we have to deal and address as well. You know, we've got to look at what's going on in our hospitals. We've got to recruit staff that we can retain. So we need to incentivise them to retain them. One of the things we've done in Ain't is Operation Shamrock, which we want to extend to bring the construction and the nursing and that to make it affordable. In the 70s in Ireland, in Letterkenny, we had hospitals we had a hospital that had accommodation for student nurses and for families, all in close proximity, walking distance to Letterkenny Hospital. We have half of St Connell's lying empty over there. We should be providing student accommodation, which I've been crying for 5 years over there.
All right, we'll come back with more. We can go on a quick briefly. Just I need to bring others in. Go ahead, Mary Tate.
The cost of employing an extra nurse or midwife in the Irish public health sector in the future is costed at 76,148. We need 3,500 new nurses and midwives, and that would cost the state 259 million. That's the sort of investment we need. And the sad thing is there were 3 unions from Letterkenny Hospital stood on the street this week outside the hospital to protest about the strain that they're under, really, and the lack of resources that they have. And I was there, and Frank joined me there. Okay. And that was what we saw on the street.
Arthur McGuinness?
Yes, Greg, actually, believe it or not, I am a cancer patient. As your medical consultant, I talked to Maria, right? But I can't get a bed. If I have home help, right? All right, but I've heard John, he got me that, right? because I can't get a bed at all there. It's a right mess in Letterkenny. And sure, I had to wait about 2-5 hours. It was a long wait now.
Yeah, okay, I can imagine. And Frank O'Donnell, independent, you recognise the problems. What do you see as the solutions?
Well, I'm solution focused, always have been and always will be. We know the problems. That's not a funding problem, Greg, in Letterkenny University Hospital by any means. It's management problems. I mean, I heard what you said, that you think it's. I worked there. I know what it's like. So the solutions would be, we hire people and we pay them very well. As politicians or would-be politicians, it's not our job to tell people how to run a health system. We pay them big bucks to do so. And if they're not capable of doing it, then step aside and let somebody else come in and do it. We can't go on like this much longer. People are suffering. You listen to Arthur's story here. That I could say that 100 times. Arthur, maybe not in the cancer care programme, but in every other aspect. Yes, yeah. Arthur, I accept what you're saying. I don't. What I don't accept is the service being provided for patients that come to the hospital or come to any health institution and ask for help. They're not getting it at appropriate time. So, honestly, if elected, I would ask for a full review of our hospital. Just a full review of it, because we are losing. We're not getting the appropriate consultants to the hospital for what different reasons. I could give a multitude of reasons why they're not coming, but I know, and I referenced one case in a radio station I was asked to look into, and what I found out about it was unacceptable to me. That if you have a neurological problem in Donegal, well, you'll have to be on a waiting list exactly 2.5 years to see a consultant, because we don't have a neurologist in Letterkenny, but we do have 3 in Sligo. So we have a bigger population than Sligo and Leitrim combined together, and we still don't have. This is the kind of service.
Okay, just one question: if elected, who would you work with? Say for instance, Sinn Féin looking to form a government, Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael. Is there any party you wouldn't work with, that you wouldn't take a position in government to try and move things forward here?
Well, we all know, we all have to look at what's the red lines are. But if it's for Donegal...
You'll work with any of them?
Anybody, I'd work with anybody.
All right. John McNulty of Fine Gael, a caller says, as a HSE employee, I couldn't agree more with Mary and others. Management and meetings taking over, meetings about meetings, not much follow-up or action. So there's that part of it. And then there's also the fact that the hospital runs sometimes in certain areas in office hours, right? So is it about money? But how do you unravel the mess of the HSE then? Because to be honest with you, an awful lot of this feels like we're not going anywhere.
Yeah, well, I see, Greg, as a businessman, I would just have to say, first off, when I run my business, it has to run, and it has to run from top to bottom to make it work, to generate the profit and be able to do that. So, I mean, there's 100 million put into the hospital in Letterkenny since 2019 to now. So, as you can see, and a lot of the people around the table have mentioned that it's not a funding problem. So you have to look at
much of that is wages and pay increases.
Yeah, yes, of course.
Well, that doesn't help anyone on a hospital bed, does it?
No, I mean, it doesn't. But what I'm saying to you on that there is that you have to look at the structures. You have to make it as efficient as possible. So we have to. Is
that part of your party's policies? Is your party looking to reform the HSE? Because it doesn't matter if you want it, right? You're part of a party that's looking to get back into government. Is it your party's view that the reform of the health service is needed?
Well, I mean, people make the party at the end of the day, and as I'm representing Fine Gael here, people make the party. So if I was elected as a TD in Donegal and went forward to Dublin, it's the people that represent that party that make that party and make decisions for the party. So as one of them, I would be looking for reform that. And what you're doing is Frank mentioned before, solutions. And I will say this, and I just wanted to say on it, is look, my own mum had the home help as well, and it's 3 times a day, and it was brilliant, and really, really brilliant, and the staff doing that are excellent. And the big thing is that we need to increase that as much as possible. Now, I do see from talking to people in it that there is a problem, maybe actually trying to retain staff is a big problem, and maybe even to try and get staff to do that job. And we look at, we're probably an economy that's in full employment as well at the minute, and that doesn't help to the fact of there's so many options.
I don't think there's many people leaving working in a restaurant on minimum wage in Donegal town to go and work as a consultant at Letterkenny University Hospital, though.
No, I'm talking about the home help, Greg.
Yeah,
I'm talking about
or
home
even
help.
in that regard.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm talking about home help,
So 13 years at this point. Do you see anything in the party that you're standing for that might suggest that it's not going to be more of the same, that something different is going to happen, that the people of Donegal under a Fine Gael-led government going forward, separate to what's happened in the past, could enjoy a fully funded, functional hospital?
Yeah, well, I think it is funded. That is one thing that we say it is funded. It's the rest of it, what I would say under Fine Gael, is to make the
Okay, a couple of people wanted to come back in this. Pierce Doherty.
Yeah, look, there is absolutely issues in how the hospital is run. There's no doubt about that there in terms of management, and all of this has to be dealt with. But let's nail the lie here. There is an issue in terms of funding. Why are 400 people waiting for home help hours? Like, talk to the people in the HSE working in this county. They want to provide those packages for individuals. The management of the hospital want those patients back home so that the bed becomes available. It is a funding issue. These two parties, Fine Gael, Fianna Fáil, have placed an embargo on home help hours in this county. Why can the nurse, who's in Brisbane, not come back to Donegal? Because there's an embargo. It is a funding issue. So let's nail this. So what is the solution here, Greg? The solution, the 5-point plan that the health professionals have said, we have fully signed up to that in Sinn Féin. Our commitment is to make the necessary investment. We need additional beds in that hospital. Overall, we will provide 5,000 additional beds right across the state and 2,000 community beds. We will provide 40,000 additional staff working in our hospitals to make sure that not only, because we're focused on the hospital here, but look at the CDNT networks. That's not an act of God again.
We're going to come to that in a moment.
It's absolutely appalling what is happening in terms of disability
but in
services,
fairness,
and the solutions can be found. So double the number of places in terms of our colleges and universities in terms of training, provide a bursary for people to actually train, and ensure that the embargo is lifted so that people can come back to Donegal and actually get the place, and people who are qualified can get a job guarantee, one thing that Sinn Féin is offering all healthcare workers.
Right, Mary T, then Pat the Cope, and then Charlie wants to come back in, and then we'll take a break and move on. Mary T Sweeney.
The reality is, because of my concerns about the hospital, I founded the Letterkenny Hospital Action Committee, and from that we had 3 public meetings, and at one of the public meetings it was in the Mount Errigal Hotel, and people told their stories, and it was absolutely heartbreaking, some of the personal accounts that were relayed at that, and they were covered by the independent media at that time, the Irish Independent. And what Aintree want to do is to reduce the use of agency staff in the HSE by 20% for each of the next 5 years, which will save in the region of 123 million. Okay, this is a big problem. It's the reliance on agency staff. We also need to seek to employ an additional 400 consultants, which will cost 88 million. And it's how to achieve that and how to make it lucrative enough that they will come and stay in Donegal. And the other thing that I wanted to talk about is to seek to change the funding of the health service to a patient engagement model, where a patient receives an operation or a treatment or an engagement or a consultation, the state will pay the provider. So each section, we believe that this will increase the flow of government expenditure to the front line and reduce the layers of management staff within the health service.
Okay.
Now, one other thing that must be remembered is I have families around County Donegal that have travelled into A&E in Letterkenny and have ended up getting disheartened and left and driven straight to Galway on numerous occasions to attend or to Beaumont. That this is the reality for many families.
Okay, I
this
get
is
you.
not acceptable.
Pat Callaghan, do you think funding is an issue down at the hospital?
Of course it's an issue, and the extra services cannot be provided without the additional funding. And I would recommend, and I've done this many times, an evaluation of efficiency, operation and sourcing new services. So funding will be required to do that. But if I were looking at this objectively and listening to this programme, I would think nothing good is happening.
Yeah, but can I just say, with respect to that, we platform that all of the time, but we can't have 7 people sitting around a table sort of celebrating what's good. There's so much is good, but we're focusing on the patient's experience where it's not good, Pat.
That might be so, but the impression shouldn't go out from here today by any of us that not a lot has been done in Letterkenny. Excellent work has been provided.
But if you say that to a 79-year-old who's just on R14 in the ED...
You have to allow me to continue.
Yeah, it's teasing out with you.
Well, if you want to go on with it...
Go ahead.
But I want...
Go ahead, Pat. Finish your point.
Exceptional work has been done there. When we look at the rehab in Letterkenny, it's comparable to the one in Dundee. So we need extra services there, and we must ensure that we have stepped down into our community hospitals who are also doing exceptional work. And the 5-point plan by Dr. Keating and Dr. Sugar is, I believe, supported by all of us. But we have done a lot over the last number of years nationally, but we have to focus in on Donegal, and my focus will be, as it always has been, and I would just remind the listeners that the services that are being made available now in Altnagelvin Hospital, I was very much part of that. When I met with Minister McJumpsey, when I was Minister of State in the Department of Health, together with Mary Carney, we provided the additional funding, and we are able to secure services there. So something good has been done, but there's a lot more to do, as we said in the past, and I will be working towards that if I'm re-elected.
Charlie, you want us to go back in there? Charlie sorry, beg your pardon. I'm doing this again. Jerry McKeever.
That's a metal block, Greg. I get them all the time.
It's my fault. Sorry, Jerry.
An excuse for me. I'm a wee bit older than you are.
Just a touch.
Looking again at that, I want to go back to Big Pike. Of course, we talk about the 5-point plan. Really, those doctors are only looking for what we should already have. The government really... They shouldn't be talking about correcting it now. Why has it not been corrected in the previous years? They're only looking for what we should already have. Look at the big picture again. 22 nurses had a going away party in the Orchard last year who just qualified up here. We need to look at the nurses, how they've been treated. We need to keep our own well-trained people in general in this country, not just nurses. So looking at the big picture again, we've got to look at that.
Mary T, a brief response because we do have to move on.
One of the things I must state very clearly is I could take you and introduce you to the staff that are excellent at their jobs in Letterkenny Hospital and the consultants that are excellent and run a really timely, efficient service, and they should not be forgotten. That is correct. They should be praised. But when they can do it in certain areas of Letterkenny Hospital, that means that all areas should be
As I said to Pat, as you understand, we're limited on time, right? So it's notwithstanding the amazing... But we spend every day in the show pointing out that...
In our committee, we put pressure on. We got arrangements that there was to be an external review of Letterkenny Hospital to gain confidence to bring in the team from Scotland. They never came. What happened to that team? We need the external review because I don't have confidence that we can do it independently in this country.
And just to be fair on this, Frank, do you want to come back in briefly?
There's maybe a perception, and maybe I'm taking it up wrong here, but the staff in Letterkenny University Hospital, they're the best staff I've ever worked with. It's not the staff. I firmly believe the funding is not a problem down there. I don't care what anybody says around the table here.
Can I just pull you up on that, right?
Yes, go ahead.
If funding's not a problem, why do we receive significantly less funding than Sligo Hospital, for an example?
Well, I've answered that question previously. It's a management problem.
Well, no, it's...
I haven't finished.
No, but
Piers, I haven't finished.
Well, just
but that's...
I know, but I know you've been involved with Donegal up until recently, but
surely.
But Sligo...
Have you a kitchen sink to throw over there as well?
Let me just make this point. You can't blame...
Don't be playing politics with people's health. That's what you're doing.
I'm not. I'm asking a question.
You're not. You interrupted me.
Can I ask you a question?
No, you won't ask me a question. Don't interrupt.
This is supposed to be a debate.
I didn't interrupt you.
I think, Frank, the listener might be interested in, though, if different views are challenged. I think that might be helpful as they decide to
be
vote.
Courteous to let me... I think it's out of common decency to let somebody complete their statement without being interrupted. There were plenty of opportunities. I would say we're here for 2 hours. You don't have to interrupt somebody.
Okay, go ahead, Frank, with your point then, and then I'll bring Piers back in briefly before the break.
People are saying it's a funding problem. It's not a funding problem. It's a management problem.
It's a management problem. Yeah.
And if we have an Apple one fall at our disposal of nearly 14 billion. So how, and anybody in this area thinks we...
So if that's the case, why is Letterkenny so significantly underfunded compared to Sligo per patient? So are you saying Sligo patients have too much money?
No, I'm not saying that.
That's a bigger problem.
I mean, we're going around... We are not making proper representation.
I know, but I'm just trying to get through to the listener, Frank, and I hope people don't think I'm being awkward here. You say funding's not an issue, so either Letterkenny Hospital is underfunded, or Sligo's overfunded, or Donegal deserve less.
We in Donegal get less everywhere. We're the last to get any funding. That's government policy to leave Donegal out. We don't have a strong enough voice in this county to fight for extra funding. We shouldn't have to fight. We're coming down with money.
Do you agree, Pat the Cope, with him? Because, I mean, obviously, you know, there's two government reps here, but, I mean, do you agree with what Frank is saying, that we are underfunded in Donegal, that we're ignored by governments?
You know, that's a throwaway remark that we hear time and time again. And sometimes I wonder, you know, when we hear nothing's happening in Donegal, I don't have time to go through all of what we've done over the years, but we're focusing on health. And I'm more than anxious that Donegal gets positive discrimination when it comes to this. And can I also say that there are many services being provided in Sligo at the moment, when I think of ophthalmic and other services, and people have to travel there. It's much easier for the consultants there to come here than all of our people going to Sligo. So all of this could be dealt with in a review that should be carried out sooner rather than later.
Pierce, you wanted to come back in there briefly?
Yeah, look, I just want to make the point, you can't blame management for the underfunding of the hospital. You just can't. Sligo, Donegal, Letterkenny has 50% more inpatients than Sligo, and we get the same budget. That is a funding issue coming from the very, very top. As I said, the reason there is 400 people on waiting lists is a funding issue. They don't have the money. If the money was there, it's not management. I know these people, they want these packages.
OK, if it's not management, should operations and services not be provided on Saturdays and Sundays as well?
Absolutely.
But they're not.
But that
are you going to take on the consultants and the unions and get the hospital running?
There has to be a 7-day a week in terms of discharges and operations. That absolutely we need to be.
So how are you going to make that happen? Because the consultants are going into private. They're
by negotiating with your consultants in relation to your contracts, and all of that. As I said, management has to be dealt with. There's no doubt about it. But they also need funding. We need additional capacity. We need additional staff. We need additional beds in that hospital. And to suggest anything otherwise is not true. And it's the problem here is this in this county. It is ordinary patients, mothers, fathers, that have to come out on the streets. Pat mentioned cancer care in Atnagelvin. It was 15,000 ordinary people across the state that had to take to the streets and demand that government take action in relation to that. It is the parents of children with disabilities and special needs who are campaigning, giving up their time over and over again to say it's not fair what's happening their children. It's not fair what's happening in their families. We have about 2/3 of the teams absolutely empty, and children are growing up without services.
Listen, we'll give an opportunity to come back on that stuff. I think I got everyone in. I got you in twice as well, Jerry. We'll be back with more after these.
Right.
The county's number one talk show.
It's time for Vision Ireland Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Monday, the 25th of November. You're playing on the green sheet. The reference number is S16. It's game number 48. The numbers are 28, 86, 41, 62, 67, 4, 77, 61, 39, and finally 89. Phone your claim to 910-4833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your Vision Ireland bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Make your next menswear choice at Watson Menswear Letterkenny. From suits to casual wear, there's big names to choose from like Andre, Rimas Umo, Superdry and Penguin. If you're going to a special occasion, get fitted in style for less with a 3-piece suit, shirt, tie and shoes, all for just €299. That's at Watson Menswear. Open 7 days a week on Main Street, Letterkenny, and online at watsonmenswear.com. Christmas Club is also now open, and a small deposit will secure any item.
It's the Right Price Tiles wood flooring and bathware 70% off sale. Get up to 70% off all your purchases. Up to 70% off all tiles, all wood flooring, all bathware. Everything's reduced in store. The 70% off sale at Right Price Tiles wood flooring and bathware. Stores nationwide. Sale ends Sunday.
Looking for your number one stop shop that's got it all? Then make John McNulty's convenience store and top oil service station in Stranraer, Donegal your number one destination. Whether you're topping up on petrol or diesel, stocking up on solid fuel, or grabbing a delicious bite from their hot deli, John McNulty's has everything you need. Convenience, quality and service, all in one place. Because at John McNulty's, they put you first. Visit John McNulty's today.
Experience the magic of Christmas with the Santa Express at Oakfield Park. Take a festive train journey through the frosty forest with dazzling lights to meet Santa himself. Marvel at Ireland's tallest Christmas tree and join the crafty elves for fun and games. The last tickets are available to book now at oakfieldpark.com. Starts Friday the 29th of November.
Your one-stop shop this Christmas. Gift vouchers for the Silver Tassie Hotel and Seascape Spa are available online at silvertassiehotel.com or from hotel reception. The Silver Tassie, proud sponsors of today's show.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
The 9 till noon show with Donegal's multi-award winning wedding venue. The Silver Tassie Hotel, planning dream weddings for generations. Email weddings at silvertassiehotel.ie for a wedding brochure or private show round.
This Christmas, experience magical moments at McElhenny's. Catch up with friends over a coffee in the Old Finn. Enjoy the festivities stress-free with our Christmas gift guide. And let the McElhenny's team help you find the perfect present. Believe in magic this Christmas with McElhenny's.
Sheridan Security, now introducing zero-wire smart alarm systems. Zero wire, zero mess, and a real peace of mind. With a simple press of a button, your alarm can be set or unset, or download the free app and control it from your phone. Call us today on 074 912 6025 and get your alarm from €299. Stay local, stay safe, and protect what you value most with Sheridan Security Systems.
Hello, Widow Twankey here. Join me and my friends in the Millennium Forum this Christmas for the biggest panto in town, Aladdin. It's on from the 29th of November until the 31st of December, and it's going to be great crack. Bring all the family. Get your tickets at millenniumforum.co.uk, and it's sponsored by the Richmond Centre.
Milford Tiles, Milford Retail Park. Tiles, bathware and wood flooring. The best quality and value in the Northwest. Fully stocked and ready to go. Fitters and delivery available. 10% off for Mica affected customers. Don't forget to ask about our 5-day bathroom fit out. Call Milford Tiles on 083 091 0707.
Discover Centra's Simple Savers, your go-to for great everyday value. Like Centra Selected Chilled Party Food, any 3 for €10. Selected Galaxy 100 gram bars, $1.50 each. And Finca Las Moras Data #1 Art Wine, 4-pack, only $30.76. Centra. Live every day. Enjoy alcohol sensibly.
Attention golfers. Black Friday offers now on at McGurk's Golf, Letterkenny. We have big savings on top brands like TaylorMade, Under Armour, Callaway and more. Visit us at Unit 16 Letterkenny Fort Retail Park, Neil T. Blaney Road, Letterkenny. McGurk's Golf. Best brands, best value.
You could own a brand new car worth over €30,000. Someone will get a call from Greg Hughes on the 9 to Noon show on December the 23rd. Simply go to highlandradio.com, click on the car link, answer an easy question, and buy a ticket for €15 or 5 for €50. Highland Radio's great car giveaway.
The 9 till noon show with Teddy's Bar at the Silver Tassie Hotel. The ideal spot.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show as we continue our first election debate of election 24. Pierce, you know, people will have heard, you know, anytime an issue comes up, be it the hospital, or defective concrete or what have you, that, you know, your party seems to say, right, we'll commit to fix that. And we read at the weekend, according to Trinity College report, an €85 billion hole in Sinn Féin's budgeting. I mean, obviously you're the spokesperson on finance. 85 billion of a hole in your financial plan. That means you can't deliver everything you're promising.
No, that's not what I said, Greg. That was a paper. Was it the Sunday Business Post? Was
Yes.
or the Sunday Business Post, which said that there was a 56 billion hole in Fianna Fáil's and 54 in Fine Gael's and 85 in ours, because we're obviously spending more capital to fix the housing crisis. But that is premised on the idea that all of the corporation tax, or majority of it, would disappear, and the income tax associated with it. That's not credible, and it would disappear right now, the whole lot of it. What all of the parties are doing is they're basing their manifestos on the Department of Finance, and the Department of Finance measures risk, and they've identified the budgetary packages that are available for the next 5 years. So our current and expenditure and tax plans are within that package, and our capital expenditure
Do
is
you
based
anticipate, given Donald Trump now soon to be the President of the United States, how big an impact do you believe that will have on corporation input or intake?
I think we shouldn't be painting up a doomsday scenario in relation to this here. We have to be very mindful of our trading partners, and the US is our largest trading partner outside of the EU, so we have to be mindful of that. But Donald Trump has been in the White House before. He's also signalled out Ireland during his previous term in the White House, and our corporation tax during that time increased by 60%. So what we need to do is, the biggest risks that we have, Greg, and the Irish Fiscal Advisory Council tell us this, the Competitiveness Council tell us this, the biggest risk we have to the Irish economy is infrastructure. We're not investing in housing in the appropriate levels. We're not investing in our water and our energy infrastructure, and that's why Sinn Féin has a plan to fix the housing crisis. Again, not an act of God. This was man-made policy that decided not to build the houses at scale. We are going to not only build the houses that are required to make sure that young people have a future here.
Okay, before we bring other people in on that, how do you do that in Donegal, right? So you got national figures, national plans. We're restricted where we can build because of planning here. The water infrastructure, the sewage infrastructure, the power infrastructure is not where it needs to be at. Anyone who's looking to get a little bit of work done on the house, there's no one to do the work for. You were on this programme before, and you said contractors were laying employees off, that their staffing is not an issue. Everyone else disagrees with you. So how do you deliver? How do you deliver what you're claiming to deliver? In the environment that I've just laid out?
First of all, we in preparation of our housing policy, which runs to over 100 pages, very detailed policy of how we'll build the houses and how we'll make them affordable at prices of 250,000 to 300,000, and how we'll deliver social housing at scale. We met with those that are build the houses, that do the work, and it was them that told us, Greg, that because of the issues, because of the backlogs, because of the uncertainty, that some of them have had to lay people off. We have more people working in the construction sector now.
How many houses might be delivered in Donegal over 5 years?
So for example, you asked me, but let me make this point. We've more people working in the construction sector now than we had during the Celtic Tiger period, but we're delivering a fraction of the houses. So we need to reorient them.
How many houses might be delivered in Donegal?
Well, the Donegal makes up about 4% of the population.
I know, but we're in Donegal, so it makes it a pertinent question.
Let me give you an example. We've had 14 years of Fine Gael. We've had, 5 years of Fianna Fáil and another 4 years where they were
back. Are you not deflecting a bit onto others rather than answering?
No. And we've had not one affordable house built in this county.
So how many Sinn Féin built in 5 years?
So, for example, 4% of 31,500 is about 1,600 affordable houses in this county.
Okay.
So that's the proportion in relation to it. But it's, you also mentioned the issue of challenging and planning. Like last week I raised, and I'm sick, sore and tired of doing this, because this is a political issue again, of the challenges that people have in this county of getting planning. The N56, for example, is a no-go area for people being able to get planning on, and I have countless people who are looking to come home, who want to live in their local area and can't get planning. The N56 running from Donegal right into Letterkenny through the west is the spine of our county, and we still won't get action. I had a debate in the Dáil this year just 3 weeks ago asking the government to take action with the TII, and still it's falling on deaf ears. So there are things that Sinn Féin will change if we lead the next government.
John McNulty of Fine Gael, your party, you heard Pierce Doherty there, hasn't delivered anything really in terms of social affordable housing in Donegal. Do you think that will change? Do you recognise that that's an issue?
I think that is already changing. I've been throughout the county on my canvas trail. I've seen it in Gaydore, I've seen it in Castlefin, I've seen it in Killybegs, I've seen it, the real reason, you have to look at the whole context. He's talked about maybe 13 years in government or whatever it was. I mean, we came in at an awful time. It was after the country was bankrupt. There's no point saying anything different, and it took a long time. And if you talked about building a house right then, well, they'd be signing you in, because there was housing estates laying everywhere, absolutely everywhere, and that was a big issue, and everybody was fleeing the country. So that started then. So when you look at that, and when we were bankrupt and where we've come today, I'd be very, very proud of Fine Gael's record. of where they've come from on the economy and how. Yes, surely we would have housing had to be built, surely, and it probably got away. We had different things with COVID, materials increased. There's all that as well. So when we look at it, Fine Gael are looking to build 60,000 houses now per year over the next 5 years. That's where we're looking at doing. And on top of that, 50% of it is going rural. And when you look at all those things, that's the plan. Now, what I would say is, and when I was down and I was talking and I was down in the thinking, we spoke about it and we talked about what was the real reason is. And again, money funding is not the real issue here. The skill shortages is the big issue here. And I actually called for it to be on the critical list of Irish for people to come in with those trades to come in here. But realistically, that means we can probably go to the high 30s, maybe to 40,000.
But how many? I mean, if it's not funding, right, and if it's staffing is an issue, would we not expect to see, hundreds upon hundreds of housing? In the planning process in Donegal, social housing, affordable housing, if it wasn't about money, where are those applications?
Well, I believe that's on that is on its way. And hold on a second, Chris. One second. Let me finish here.
That's fine, but it is also a debate.
It is a debate. Yeah. Well,
just to make this point. Well, there is, because you made the point that you're seeing this all over the place. You're seeing some social housing, and they're few and far between. And we've been in the centre of actually trying to get some of them off the ground. But there is not one affordable house in this county, and there's not one planned either, John. So you have to be completely and utterly honest with the public. 14 years of Fine Gael in government and not one affordable house is being planned for this.
I want to give you a chance to come back on that, John.
Well, look, I'm disagreeing, Pierce. That is happening, and it is happening. And I'm looking at it saying, right, I mean, you look at those places in Gweedore and Castlefin, and their social housing.
Affordable housing.
There'll be affordable housing as well.
But you can't buy a social housing. Yeah. Affordable housing is for people who are earning too much for social housing and can't afford the fact that Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil have pushed up house prices in this county by 15.3% in the last year alone. It's out of reach.
Okay, you're going to have. Finish your point, John. So I want to move on
because it's about supply and demand as well. I understand that. So when you have when your demand is what it is and your supply is short, you're going to have natural increase in prices. That's another factor, and that's nothing to do with government. That's the way that the economy works as well. Now, it's because
needs to supply the houses.
Of course, we need.
300,000.
But I just want to be clear, John. When I said finish your point, I wasn't trying to speed you on. I was saying you now have an opportunity to finish, just in case you.
That's fine. No,
in case it came
what
across.
I'm saying, as the Fine Gael government, I was just saying, look, we're putting that there's a 30,000 they have to buy scheme, and there's a 70,000 the property vacant grant. That's up to 100,000 as well.
Yeah, but you just said staffing is an issue, and that means you said skills shortage is the issue.
Yes,
so really mean those schemes
are. We're looking to improve all that.
Okay,
and that's what it is.
Yes. Now, Jerry McKeever.
Great, thanks, Craig. I wanted to interrupt John there because he said 60,000 houses a year. Pierce is quite right. Without the infrastructure, it's not going to happen. Many developers have said we make it 30,000 houses built next year if we're lucky. Between planning procedures and the planning objection system we have in this country and the fact that the infrastructure isn't there, we're not going to do it. You mentioned Donald Trump. We can't worry about what Donald Trump's going to do. We have to worry about what we're doing. I think a lot of people have an idea where the Apple money should go. The Apple money can't be built into the budget every year. The Apple money should be used for one-off major spend to help the country, and that should be infrastructure. We must build infrastructure. By 2030, data centres will eat all our electricity. Corporate America will leave if we're going to be regarded as a third world country infrastructurally, if we don't have water to give them, we don't have electricity, affordable homes.
But in terms of staying positive, we just had a very significant announcement from Abbott, and there was another company just before the budget that announced the creation of jobs. The name's escapes me just a moment. Yeah. So there still must be some faith in us. We're not seen as a third world economy or anything.
In time, Greg, I'm talking about in time. I mean, our grid is not capable of doing the work it's supposed to do already. They're talking about rolling blackouts before 2030. Donald Trump's plan. Donald Trump may not be president in 4 years' time. I don't think American companies going to jump on what he says immediately.
No, that's good. That's good. I want to bring everyone in, but John, you wanted to come back in there and say you did.
Well, I just wanted to comment on Trump. I think we have to take that serious as a country. We have to take, because we are so the direct.
Would it not help if Simon Harris was a little bit more friendly towards Trump?
Well, I think
quite outspoken.
I'm sure he's had a conversation with him. I'm sure that they'll get on
the way to Donegal. Funny enough. Did you want to come in, Mary T, and then I'll bring Pat the Cope and then obviously
Going
Frank
back
Knopper.
to the initial point of it about the spending, I just want to make the point that the cost of the cyber attack, it so happens on the HSE that time, was over 100 million, and then 657 million had to be spent on security upgrades. So the reality is that, we're taking our eye off the ball. If we continue to argue around this table the way that we have successfully done over the last 15 years without successful outcomes, then that's the sign of insanity, isn't it? Repeating something and you think the outcome's going to get different. And that's what I hear here today. We've got to change. So what Aintu's trying to do is to put a minister, junior minister in, to that every minister in government, the contract must state that they are equally accountable for the spending of anything in excess of 1 million in the budget. We have got to make people accountable, or we will continue to fail the people of Ireland and the services of Ireland the way we're doing at the moment. In relation to housing, I would say something very, very different, and that is, on the 5th of November, Aintu submitted a parliamentary question for confirmation of the testing of current build materials in this county. And I got the biggest load of waffle from the Minister, Darragh O'Brien. And the government ministers here and the representatives from three different parties. There are three different parties, mainstream party, four, suppose I represent Patter, not to forget the people that have the most common sense in Aintu. But the reality is, are these government ministers and representatives going to give us confidence that the build material that's building that new People's Hospital over across the road, has that got good block? Because Charlie McConlogue said at the hustings and the NHFA in Glenswilly the last night that that praised the building of this new unit and all that. But I still can't get advice. The minister's not committing that there is good, solid materials. Minister McConlogue said that they now recognise that the deleterious material is not what they were basing it on.
I think we all want clarity on that.
Who has made the decision to retest all the current build materials? Because the feedback I'm getting is that current build materials are still not safe. They are actually still deleterious material present, and we need to change the whole structure.
I can't really speak to that because I don't know who's supplying them.
No, government needs to do an emergency
I know that, but I don't know who's supplying. I get you. No, notwithstanding that, but to talk of the fact that you believe that they're deleterious or contain deleterious material.
No, Charlie McConlogue confirmed that what they now realise is the cause and effect of what we consider the mica homes, the crumbling homes, the defective blocks, is not what they initially thought.
Okay,
so who
Minister,
has stopped the build till we check what we're building with?
Okay,
this
sorry,
is a major problem.
I get you. No, not disregarding that. Sorry, I almost elevated someone to the ministerial position. Pat the Coat Gallagher, old habits die hard, I suppose. A lot of people are texting in, right, that you may have not been elected the last time out, but you never retired, in inverted commas. So you're acutely aware of the concerns of people in relation to housing. Are you confident that you, through your party, can start to deliver social housing, affordable housing for the people in your area, who many would argue are sort of, if Donegal's on the hind teat, a lot of people feel that, the Glenties area and the west of the county is on the hind teat of the county, if that makes sense?
Well, of course, I think all of us agree that there is a housing crisis and a rental crisis. So therefore, we must increase the delivery of social and affordable houses right across the county. And before I address that, just make one point. You have a squeeze middle, those whose income is too low for mortgages and too high for social housing. We must focus, and the thresholds have to be changed there to allow for more affordable houses. Now, also, and it has been said that we have more in the construction industry now than we had in the time of the Celtic Tiger. We must make every effort to attract the skills back because we don't have sufficient skills to build. Now, as far as Donegal is concerned, I do believe that there should be a devolved system, as we had in school buildings many years ago. While everything went through the department, now there's a devolved system. I believe Donegal should get a budget to build houses, and that should be done in-house here in Donegal, because it galls me when files have to go up and down Dublin and back, and it takes too much time. I was about in the 1980s when we were building the SI houses. I could count on one hand the number of SI houses that are being built at the moment. These are people building houses on their own land and funded by the local authority. We must concentrate on that. And I agree with Pearson one thing. We have no right to sterilise the land on each side of the N56, right through from Donegal town, right round the coast. And people could build there, and they're anxious to build. That has to be dealt with. And I would have to say, in fairness to the councillors, all of the councillors, they've made a case to the department and the TII. We must, as whoever is elected, ensure that that does not sit on a desk. It has to be dealt with. And it's just not the N56.
Was this not a Darragh O'Brien responsibility? Effectively, does that not end up on his desk? And I presume lots of representations were made to him.
Eventually, and I know how the system works, Darragh O'Brien, whoever is the next Minister for the Environment, will have to recognise the importance of this. And it's just not the N56 where you would have 5 Donegal councillors. We have the N59 and we have the Ns right around the country. So we must work together. All parties work together to try and resolve this. Lest someone might ring in and say, oh, you want to build on the N56, where it is safe to do so.
My understanding is Darragh O'Brien is going to instruct the Donegal County Council to remove that reference from the county development plan.
So he has intervened, your belief?
He's got my understanding is he's got the recommendation which he will instruct Donegal County Council to remove that reference to the Donegal County development plan, which means that people will not be able to build on the N56. Pat is right, it is a political decision at the end of the day, but Darragh O'Brien is not the person who's going to actually support our county and the councillors, because the councillors and the planners are looking for leeway in relation to the N56 where there's intensification, and the understanding is that that is not going to come from the department.
Can I come on here?
Frank, you're exactly who I was about to come to next.
The N56, I highlighted the N56. You'll see a piece in the Cheer Tribune. I think I was the first person to do so. This came in the development plan of 2024 to 2030. Councillors sat around us and adapted this Chapter 8 development plan. So I'm lost here. I hear Pat and Pierce saying they're going to come back on it and review it. This was development plan, a public consultation document. Councillors signed off. Sinn Féin councillors signed off on this. Fianna Fáil councillors signed off on this. So we can't have it both ways. Now we're going to get the Minister to come back and take this Chapter 8 out of the... If you're signing a document and you're giving the council the approval to sterilise land from Killybegs to Larrykenny, the N56, it's 157.3 kilometres or 98 miles. This is unacceptable. That nobody foreseed this. I seen when I read the development plan, I said this is a major problem here. We're going to denigrate the local villages and towns, and actually what we're really going to do as well, and it's not the priority, but it does have effect. We're going to... People have land that want to sell for sites on that land. We've devalued the land for them as well. So, when I was reading the development plan, I said, who under God's earth would...
Yeah, but the councillors have been united, have they not, in seeking the ability for people to develop on the N56?
The horses already bolted. So, yes, I accept what you're saying is correct now, but the horses is already bolted, so it's no good looking for a lock to lock the stable door. This should have been addressed properly at a council... Sorry, Pierce, I didn't interrupt you. So this should have been addressed at council level. So we shouldn't have to go hand and foot to Darragh O'Brien.
1 second, quickly.
It's the other way around. The councillors are united in this county. They want flexibility on the N56. They've put it into the county development plan. It's gone up to Dublin, and Darragh O'Brien is going to ask them to remove that.
I didn't think it was cross-party support.
So it is. It's the opposite. The county is united on this here, and in fairness, I think everybody, regardless...
Were they late to the party? Because I don't know the ins and outs of it.
The N56...
Frank is suggesting
the N56 is an issue that has been around for so long. This is the review of the county development plan. This is the time you put it in, and we have in the past TII, was National Roads Authority, who objected this. Now there's a new process which includes the regulator and the minister, and this is a new process. The county is supportive of flexibility on the N56. It is the minister that is going to ask them to withdraw that.
I'll get Arthur in a second. Pat the Cope,
on that one as a follow through, you can take it now that we're in the throes of a general election and no policy decisions will be taken by ministers at this point, and it'll be the incoming minister, and it'll be the responsibility of all of us to prevail upon that minister, whoever he or she may be.
Here's a question: would you intervene on this in government?
Absolutely. This is just. I mean, like what is being asked here?
To be fair to the government parties as well, you'd be confident a new minister might look at this differently.
Well, whoever the 5 TDs are will have to take the opportunity. I live in my entrance is on the N56. I'm involved in planning for years, and it's not right that I said earlier land should be sterilised. So there'll be no policy decisions taken, and there are normally taken during the course of a general election.
And just agree with that.
John McNulty's. Arthur, a quick word on this, please, sir.
Yes, but and sure, And down the bow, our council houses are falling apart, right? And the town is dying. And all the businesses are dying. And what's wrong too is what's wrong too, we can't get the planning.
Yeah. Yeah, you get that too. All right. Charlie, sorry, if I do that again, I'm going to donate to charity, I swear. Jerry.
How much, Greg? How much? We want to hear how much.
Charity who, Greg? Charity who?
It's okay. I've been called worse.
Yeah, but you haven't been called it worse over and over and over again, you see. It's all right once.
It's a mental block. I forgive you. It's okay. Don't take myself that seriously.
Jerry, I've got your name circled, underlined, X. Anyway, I'm eating to time here.
I called you Sean once.
You did?
Are you getting me back?
No, I'm not. I'm not that clever.
You feel better now?
I'm not that clever. Go ahead, Jerry.
The squeeze in the middle has been mentioned here, and the people who can't afford the mortgage can't get the social housing. That's developed under the government in the last 14, 15 years, and it's accelerated in the last few years. And I don't see a tweak here and a tweak there fixing that. I think we need a radical. Maybe I'm being independent, I can afford a radical point of view. We need to radically look at our planning process in general. Our hands are tied. People can't give their children sites to build on. I spoke to 2 people in the last year.
Can I just put something to you on that though, Jerry? Because a few people say that, and the planning system is there and it's clunky and it's delayed, right? But what that means is that someone can't build overlooking your house, or someone can't build another house that makes a road dangerous. Because we've got developments all over the county, right? And people are saying that should never have been given permission because it's made that corner really, really dangerous, So at the end of the day, when you start fiddling with the planning system, you could speed it up, right? You could reform it. But it's there for a reason, isn't it? And I would presume the majority of people objecting are doing so for the right reasons.
Fair
so
enough.
What are you proposing the Wild West?
No, not the Wild West. There's got to be rules. But I mean, look, we have 2 options here. We carry on the way we're going. We were at school on Thursday. You asked a school of 18-year-olds, class 18-year-olds, how many were going to Australia. I think there was 50-60% of hands went up.
Pretty depressing.
I went to Carndonagh on Friday and spoke to 5 students studying politics and asked the same question. All 5 were going, 5 out of 5. But I asked another question. I asked, how many of you want to come back or think come back, and all 5 nodded. If we don't change our housing policy in this country, we're going to lose them all. So you have 2 options. You can all 5, Arthur. Yes, and Karen. Look, you can attempt to have a plan to bring them back, or we can absolutely just go on the way we're going and have no houses we can afford. The squeeze mill don't get a house. Homeless is rife, and our people are going away to Australia. Our train workers and our young are going to Australia. So I know what you're saying, Greg. It can't be the Wild West, but we have to have a major reform. But builders say we can't build 30,000 associated.
We'll be back with we'll have another couple of minutes on this because there are, some would say, aggravating factors that would also cause issue with that. Of course, we're going to have a conversation about a defective concrete, and as much as we squeeze in, I'll come back, and the first person I'm going to come back to is Mary T. Sweeney to make sure everyone gets a fair crack of the whip as is possible. So that'll be in
the
about
9
4
till noon
minutes.
show with Teddy's Bar at the Silver Tassie Hotel. The ideal spot to catch up for cosy Christmas drinks. Follow Teddy's Bar, the Silver Tassie Hotel on Facebook and Instagram.
Are you worried about trees on your property? Northwest Forestry Services Ballybuffet are fully insured and have over 40 years experience in dangerous tree removal, tree felling, surgery and stump grinding. For peace of mind, call Northwest Forest Services Ballybuffet for no obligation quotation on 913233.
Attention Donegal, Derry and Tyrone. PD Bathrooms and Tiles are proud to unveil our newest and most stunning showroom in Lisfannon Business Park, Buncrana. Located right opposite the Northwest Golf Course, we offer unbeatable quality and incredible value. For 30 years, we've been the experts in total refits, stocking and serving as the sole agent for many top brands. Visit us today and transform your space with the finest bathroom and tile solutions. Telephone 93 95 884. PD Bathrooms and Tiles, where excellence meets value. Lisfannon Business Park, Buncrana, F93H10F.
Expecting a baby? Don't miss the Cool Kids Sligo Black November sale with up to 25% off selected pushchairs, car seats, nursery furniture and high chairs. During our Black November baby equipment sale, we still accept deposits and are offering free nationwide delivery. Shop online at babyaccessories.ie.
The world awaits you. Make that dream your next adventure. Cruise the Caribbean. Sail from Crete to Corsica. Soak in Santorini sunsets. dine on the shores of the Indian Ocean, stroll through cobbled streets for hidden gems, or bring the little ones to a magical wonderland. Trust the award-winning Atlantic Travel to guide your next adventure. Step through our doorway to the world. Atlantic Travel, Letterkenny.
Introducing Flow for Men, my new fragrance collection of products created to keep you feeling fresh and looking sharp. The ideal gift for the man in your life. Find Flow in pharmacies nationwide or online at flowbybo.com. Start every day with confidence.
Tony usually hates her morning commute, but something is different today. Tony has a grin brimming from ear to ear and an uncontrollable urge to tap her toes. You see, she just switched to 48 Mobile, so she now gets unlimited data for $12.99 a month and feels like the smuggest person on the bus. 48 Mobile. Good call. T's and C's apply. See 48.ie. $12.99 one-time activation fee. Unlimited data applies to ROI only, subject to coverage.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenney's. Find the perfect present for everyone on your list this festive season. Discover the joy of gifting and make Christmas magical with McElhenney's Ballybuffet. Visit us in-store or online at mcelhenneys.com.
Treat someone special to luxurious relaxation time in the Seascape Spa at the Silver Tassie. Offering indulging treatments, unique gifts and Christmas gift vouchers. 912-6251. Seascape Spa at the Silver Tassie, proud sponsors of today's show.
Tinny's Toys, your local toy store. Christmas Club is now open. Everything for newborn right up to model collectors. Leck Road, Letterkenny. Or shop online at tinnystoys.com. Did you know that we even give 5% cash back on all purchases when you sign up to our loyalty program? Tinny's Toys, much more than just farm toys. Leck Road, Letterkenny. Or shop online at tinnystoys.com. Terms and conditions apply.
Looking for the best rates on foreign currency? Visit Bureau Express on Lifford Road, Strabane. We offer special rates for commercial customers competitive with banks on currencies like euro and sterling and dollars. With 60 currencies and free parking, we're your one-stop shop. Call 028 7188 2081. We're the last turn-off before the Asda roundabout. Bureau Express, Strabane.
McCullough Jewellers in Letterkenny are synonymous with fine jewellery, quality watches and giftware. With stores at Main Street, Letterkenny and the Letterkenny Shopping Centre or online at ormccullough.com. You can choose from their quality product range in a relaxed atmosphere, and their sales staff will be happy to help you make the right choice whatever the occasion. McCullough Jewellers, making moments magical for generations.
Spoil someone with a beautiful fragrance this Christmas from McGee's Chemist Letterkenny. Choose by designer, budget or celebrity. Top names like Chanel, Lancôme, Christian Dior and Jimmy Choo. Also great prices on Yves Saint Laurent, Prada and so many more. The best fragrant gift sets available this year can also be found in McGee's Chemist Main Street Letterkenny and online at mcgees.ie. McGee's, where the best costs less.
It's not just that Sammy has had his world torn apart by the conflict. It's not just that he has lost everyone that he ever loved. And it's not just that Sammy is only 7 years old. Right now, children are being forced to live through unimaginable horrors in Gaza and around the world. And it's not just. This Christmas, your help could make all the difference. Visit trocra.org or call 1-800-408-408. Trocra. Together for a just world.
Celebrate the season at Evolve Clothing Letterkenny Retail Park. Brands like Ralph Lauren, Fred Perry, Calvin Klein, Barbour and Gant. Open 7 days a week until 8 p.m. Thursday and Friday. Shop in-store or online.
Okay, we're back for our first general election debate here with our guests. We were talking about housing there, and what comes up on the 9 till noon show quite a lot is people who are being chucked out of rental accommodation. It seems to often be younger families, single parents. They're being contacted by their landlord to say someone's coming back, whatever it might be, and in some cases that property ends up back on the market a few months later at a much higher rent. There's also the issue of fairness in the rental market, because obviously we have a situation now whereby the government is trying to free up some hotels and accommodations and what have you. A lot of Ukrainian families are sort of competing for the limited amount of rental properties are there. Some would say they're advantaged in that a landlord gets $800 tax-free into their pocket, whereby if they were to rent it to someone who's lived here for longer, it costs an awful lot more, so those people are disadvantaged. And of course we also have, and we'll get on to it, families of defective concrete blocked homes who can't find anywhere to rent. So there is certainly, I think the word crisis could be used in relation to that. So I don't know if you wanted to add on to your other point, Mary T, you'll just pick that one up, but do you recognise that is an issue? And I suppose, again, I'm going to ask the simple question because people want to know what can be done about it.
So I have to revert back slightly just to the previous incident, the previous issue, and that's in relation to the N56 and the planning. And we cannot talk about planning in Donegal without asking why, oh why, oh why, has the Mulcahy report, which was completed 7-8 years ago, into corruption and planning in Donegal. It is the elephant in the room, and until we get that elephant opened out and talked about, and I guarantee that if I get elected to the Dáil, I will definitely push hard to get that file opened and hold people accountable. If we continue to let people slip through the net, then we are continuing in a failed process. That's the reality.
Okay.
Why also is the 10T also sterilised, the land along the 10T, and we're talking for 20 years, and we're also talking about numerous reports being done by consecutive agencies coming in that are being paid. Why is the one agency not being used that they have already got the criteria, the details, the spec on what's happening? This is ridiculous, a ridiculous waste of money. Hundreds of thousands that could have built multiple houses.
All right. So to move on then to the question I put to you about housing, about the shortage of housing, the fact that people feel it's unfair, they feel that they can't really speak out for fear of being labelled something they aren't. Has an N2 got a policy that would address some of these issues?
Again, of course I have. And the reality is I had just a young mother on last night that's 4 years on the waiting list, living in the Manor Cunningham greater area, and with a sick child, herself and her child, and she's at 26 points in the scheme, and she's saying social houses being given out all around her, and many of them are going across the spectrum, some to locals, some to the non-nationals, and she wants to know why they have surpassed her when they're less time on the list. There's no fairness and accountability in the system, and we need to be honest about that. There should be nobody put before the people in the system that are most deserving of the system, of the house that they need. And for that mother, I will help her elevate her case. She's on 26 points. She needs to get to 30 to be priority, and with a sick child, it's a matter of managing your information that you progress to the council to get those points elevated. In relation to accountability, there has to be management of housing. And these parties sitting around this table have in effect had an open door policy on immigration coming in. So how can you manage a housing policy when you've no concept of how many people you're trying to accommodate? That is madness.
Okay, Frank, has this come up for you much out in the canvas, or just to people making representations to you? I suppose that the cost of renting, there's no rent pressure zones here, and also to the market is saturated. Not the market, but the demand, and there's no market there. There's no houses there.
Yeah, supply and demand is a big thing in this county. It has come up. I've met more people that have said, Frank, I'm paying 900, 1,000 a month for accommodation, and come outside and look at the accommodation I'm in. I'm glad for it because it's pyrite make accommodations around, but they're so glad to even get that at €1,000. And they said to heat the house alone, it's costing way out of counter what it should be costing because of the gaps in the wall. To fix the housing crisis, it's so simple. I mean, we have over 900 on the waiting list, and a stroke of pen we could fix it overnight. If the wall was there, we do have the money. Look, it's not a money problem, it's a management problem. The whole management structure from the government down, I would look for a review. If anybody that's not providing the service that they're well paid to do, then I would ask them step aside and put somebody else. Like Jerry mentioned, the late Jerry what was it?
Jerry Robinson.
Jerry Robinson. Anybody, that guy, God rest his soul, came in, and Jerry said, we'll have a look at the hospital and see what's wrong. In 3 weeks, Jerry's right, it was fixed in 3 weeks. So what we have here is bureaucrats, and we want this and that. Give them I agree with Pat here, give them the money, give the local authority the money, and the local authority will build the houses. It's as simple as that. Give them give any the council the funding, and they will provide the houses for these people. But there's one thing I will finish off on this. Great. Money should be allocated on the waiting lists. So I know for Donegal has a waiting list of roughly about 900 on the waiting list. We should be given an allocation to give affordable houses, and what I'm saying is the squeeze middle is getting caught out in this as well. But overall, to finish up, it's structure management problems causing the backlog, nothing else.
Right. Jerry McKeever, do you want to come early on this one, and then we'll
Thanks,
move
Greg.
around the table then?
The closest thing we can have at the moment in Magic Wand to fix housing problem is, and again, I can be radical, perhaps being an independent, I don't have to stick to party constraints.
But you also don't really necessarily, some would argue, have to stick to reality.
Well, I mean, the reality is the country's emptying out. The systems are dysfunctional at the moment. We need a major reset here, and we need a reboot rather than a change. I think, my idea is that we spend that 14 billion perhaps on water, electricity, infrastructure. We do a massive shift in our planning permission. I would actually suggest, we could set up service sites all over the country, possibly 200 locations, maybe 7, 8 in Donegal, which would give us 1,600 houses alone in Donegal. Put in the roads, electric, water, etc., and sell them for 40 grand, whatever. And we could actually have retirement villages in the middle of these things for maybe 20, 30 retired people to buy in there at maybe 160 grand. Yeah. We could have social housing in these estates. So that's 1,600 houses alone without the additional people building on their own land.
I just want to drill down to the rental crisis, if that's okay, because I get you, because there's a ton of people listening who they're so desperate. They're literally facing homelessness for Christmas, and I mean this with all respect. A retirement village 30 years down the line, right? There's people living in their cars in this county, and there's people squatting because they've been asked to leave and they have literally nowhere else to go. So I can come back to you on that.
Well, great. Can I just answer that? Can I answer that, Greg? You've asked me.
Yes.
Can I answer that just? I've said it's the closest thing we have to Magic Wand, but a Magic Wand, even in a country this size, isn't going to fix it like that. A Magic Wand can fix over a few years, and I would suggest, if we can build these modular houses now, I've looked at 2 different sorts at the moment, and I've looked at 5 in general, but 2 lately. A 2-rated modular home coming in about 100 grand for 1,200 square foot. It's very, very affordable. You can see people in this country having mortgages of maybe 920 quid a month for 20 years, as opposed to double that, as opposed to doing these 35-year mortgages now they're suggesting. We've got to make it affordable. As opposed to paying 1,400 quid a month in rent, you could pay 920 quid a month in a mortgage, and a house you're going to own 20 years. We've got to do something major.
Merity, I'll come back to you, but we started with you on this one. John McNulty is indicating there, Fine Gael.
Just one observation I've had myself throughout the county, and that on my canvas trail, is that the amount of empty houses that's around the county. There's hundreds.
Can I just come in on that, John? You have a good scheme. Your party has a good scheme, but people can't get onto it because they can't afford the upfront costs of it.
Yeah, well, just on that, just in relation to that scheme is changing as well, because you have it worked, and I've seen it with the Donegal or the Ballyshannon-Killybegs Credit Union, where they will bridge finance the money now for the 70 grand on the scheme, and they will give you that money up front. Plus, in fairness to Donegal County Council as well, Donegal County Council will have that if you have all your receipts in place and everything, and within 6 weeks of them you will have the payment back on that as well, and they've said that themselves. But just in relation to those empty houses, I think in conjunction with Donegal County Council and with every one of us sitting around the table, that when the time comes, we should look at all those empty houses and see how Donegal County Council could proceed to make those houses livable.
Okay. I've been argumentative, but I've done interviews about scheme after scheme, report your local derelict property, and nothing ever came of it.
But I think that's where it has to come. But it has to come from the authority itself. It has to come from Donegal County Council authority itself to take the lead on that.
Right.
And I mean that.
I'll bring everyone in first, and then come back to those that have already been in. Pierce Doherty, again, just back to the rental side of things, and I really want to speak to those people out there that believe the system is not fair, that they are being disadvantaged, that we're jumping through hoops to do what we most think we should be doing, is looking after people fleeing war and persecution. But at the same time, you know, I'll give one example. Another example, spoke to a parent who can't get a child on a bus to go to school, yet a full 16-seater bus tender went out to get one direct provision pupil to school. Now, that drives people to have emotions that confuse them. Talk to me generally about that.
It absolutely drives people nuts, and I think it allows then other people to exploit on those emotions who have bad views in relation to these issues. But most people are fair, but they want fairness. So, like, the issue that you raised in relation to, you mentioned in terms of the tax-free, the state pays basically the rent. If you rent your house to a Ukrainian family here or a Ukrainian individual, the state will pay for that rent, regardless who that person is. So that 1/3 of Ukrainians are working in this county and elsewhere. That's important. They're playing a valuable role. But the person who could be working next beside them on the factory floor could be looking for rental accommodation. You stop that scheme. Like this isn't something new. We actually proposed this. We proposed this last year, that this scheme should not be open to new applicants. Why? Because what the state is doing is saying we are going to pay the rent for a Ukrainian family regardless of their income. And we are not doing the same for an individual. So it has completely distorted the market. So what does it mean from a landlord? I've spoke to landlords, and I understand, look, if you've got a landlord, you're going to look for the most money you can get. A landlord, the equivalent of this here, it's about €1,600 because they pay no tax in it. That's what it means in their pocket, where rents in this county are about €1,100 for new rents. So it is more advantageous for them to rent to the Ukrainian family. Many of the Ukrainian families are also offering an additional support above that. So it is about, my principle here is that we obviously have to support people who are fleeing war and persecution, but it should be fair, and nobody should be getting
what
something.
What should we do also about those? What should we do for those families that are being contacted by landlords saying, "Look, we want, maybe the house has got defective concrete, maybe a relation is moving home. You know, what do we do? How do you support those people and then get them in somewhere else they can afford?"
So two things that I want to say in relation to the overall private rental market, and like the rental market here is a disaster in terms of the pressure it's putting on individuals, and it's tied up with just this the shame that we now have in relation to the disaster that is housing. Rents in Donegal have increased. New rents in Donegal have increased by €5,500 since Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael came to government 4.5 years ago. It is ridiculous where it's going, and it continues to rise every single year. Einstein talked about the definition of his insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, and this is the opportunity for people on Friday. So what does Sinn Féin offer if we lead the next government? First of all, we will ban rent increases for the next 3 years. We will put a month's rent back into renters' pockets through a rent credit, and we will also introduce legislation.
You're going to have to scrap at the same time scrap the advantage that a Ukrainian person might have.
Yeah, absolutely. Like a Ukrainian person should be able to rent that home like anybody else if they want to, but it shouldn't be the state that's paying their money. It's not fair. Like, why should somebody who's non-Ukrainian have to compete with something that they just can't do? So, and we will also introduce a ban on no fault evictions, which means if you're paying your rent, if you're doing no harm, then you can't be evicted from your home simply because the landlord wants to.
Pat the Cope Gallagher.
Yeah, well, I believe that Ukrainians and our own people should have a level playing pitch, and our people should have the opportunity of being housed. And while we have international responsibilities, we did a considerable amount over the years, costing the Irish taxpayer money. And I always said, and I had no input into this, that Europe should have made a major contribution where there are substantial funds there, and it should have been done on a pro rata basis. But of course, immigration is never, it's not a black and white issue. And I believe that I have Ukrainians beside me in Dunlowan and other parts of West Donegal, and they've integrated very well with the people. But the sad factor is, and maybe I'm deviating, now they're being told you have to move out into other areas, and that is dealing with the Ukrainians as if they were robots. And they're integrated, they have their services there, they're going to schools there, they have their GPs, and all of a sudden they're told overnight, up and out. Now that's wrong of the Department of Integration to be doing that. They must treat those people who have provided the housing in a fair and equitable way. And we must recognise also that the vacant, we can criticise our own county often, but when it comes to vacant and derelict houses, we have the best scheme in place in the country. Where inspections have been carried out, and I think as someone has said, we don't want the registered contractors. It can be done with receipts. Those houses are becoming available. But the problem is, it's not going to be sorted until more funding is provided and that we cut through the red tape and allow the council to build the houses, and they should fast-track planning, could be got in 8 weeks and 5 weeks for objections. All of that has to be integrated, and we have to.
How do you deliver that if elected, though? You see, because again, you know, and respectfully, you're highlighting what we know.
This is
already.
really nonsense, because we're talking around things here, and we're not talking about the reality of it. And I really mean that, Pat. If you're saying that people are told to up and out, and who's been put into that place?
We don't know.
Being put out for who?
Well, in some cases,
You're nodding.
Well,
yeah.
it depends. Say, for instance, a premises in Milford, yes. Another premises in Ramelton, I think, no.
Well, we need to finish
So it
the
depends.
sentences. We
Yeah.
need to finish the sentences and say that the Ukrainians now are being sidetracked to bring in IPAS residents because they generate more money again. So that's the reality of it. And we have to be able to have an honest conversation without being called racist. Ain't we the only party that put any plan and strategy in place and put in the parliamentary questions that got all the facts and figures that are here? And if you don't sit around the table and recognise the fact that our rental accommodation crisis is because of mismanagement of this government, bringing in people with false promises, 8 different languages went out around the world to say, come to Ireland, there's an open door for you that you can have your own private front door here. So are you telling me now that the government now is happily pushing the Ukrainians out into the tents, and you're going to do a juxtaposition of tents on O'Connell Street or whatever that street is where the IPAS centre is? Listen, I'm just reading on the BBC as we take a break that the Gardaí are going on to buses coming in over the border and taking people off and taking them, just as we read here.
Yep,
it's on BBC here now. I've just seen the start of it. Listen, stop ignoring
Is
the
that not something you'd welcome, no? Yes,
but
Pat, I want to give. But I want to give Pat O'Gallagher an opportunity to finish his point.
Can I just
I'll come
finish
into
this?
you
Because we're not
very briefly, because
sorry,
you cut across here. But go ahead.
I beg your pardon, but I have to challenge. As you said, this is a debate. We have to allow the people of Donegal to be honest. There's no planning permission for IPAS centres. We have to be responsible about this, and we have to be kind. We could do migration and immigration very, very well before this war happened in Ukraine, and then the European Union directive. Ireland has to have responsibility to its own people first and foremost, and we have ignored that.
Now finish your point, Pat.
Those Mary T, that I'm referring to are people who are living in excellent accommodation in West Donegal, and they get a letter from the Department of Immigration to tell them we're moving those on elsewhere in Donegal, and they're not taking into consideration the human factor. It's not that they're going into camps.
But Mary T is saying that on occasion, and it is a fact, that Ukrainians are being asked to leave to be replaced by IPAS applicants.
They're not. Those people would love to hear that, who have invested heavily in providing the facilities that someone else has gone in. As far as they're concerned, that those houses and those homes will be left with them. They have to meet their commitments, they have to meet their repayments. So there should be much more. And the people who are dealing with this in immigration, they're moving on all the time. You cannot lift the phone and get somebody who can deal with this. I think the whole thing is unfair. But
I will just. I will come back to you. But Frank hasn't been in yet on this, I don't believe.
Yeah. The migration situation is there's 3 types of migration into this country, as we all know. There's the visa, who are very welcome to work here, to provide a great service to our country and county. There's the international protection refugees from war-shown areas. We have an obligation to take them in. I accept that. Then we have the illegals coming into this country. We have in our statute book enforcement powers that we're not using. We have people coming in here with no documentation, no passports, we don't validate how they didn't go on a plane or a boat without documentation. The very few have no documentation. We have, as I said, on the statute books, it's in the Migration Act of 2004, Section 8. It's illegal to land here without any documentation.
But you can land here without documentation, but you don't need documentation to claim asylum.
You're breaking the law here, Greg, with respect. You land here, you break the law. I mean, when you break the law, there's two things should happen. You should get processed and rerouted back to where you came from again. It's as simple as that. Right. You can't have our laws being. If I broke a law in this county, surely I would be prosecuted. These people are coming to this country because we have a broken system here.
Okay, so the law you're saying they're breaking is coming here without documentation. Pierce, did you want to come back in there?
Yeah, look, the big problem here is how this has been managed, and it has been managed terribly. We live in Donegal, and we know that we've got the highest levels of Ukrainians in the county, we've got the highest levels of international protection, or second highest level, and yet we're one of the most deprived counties in the state. And we're very clear in Sinn Féin that youth centres should not be located in relation to communities that are already deprived, communities that
where
are
do they go?
They go in more affluent communities.
Where?
Because
is there more affluent?
Of course there is.
In Donegal.
So what is defined as deprived area is it's already done by the state. It's where our JISH schools are. A third of our schools are actually deprived. Most of Donegal, nearly all of Donegal, is actually classified in that category. This puts pressure not only on housing, which we talked about, that we brought forward the motion to end that unfair scheme, but also puts pressure in terms of services and elsewhere. And there has been multi-millionaires made overnight as a result of the government policy in relying on the private provider, which they're paid €82 per person, as opposed to, on average, about 29.
People texting saying Sinn Féin are open borders.
Absolutely nonsense. One of the things we have said very clearly is we need to control our own borders. That is very clear. What we need to do is we need to deal with how we are processing individuals. 2/3, Greg, of people who come here and apply for international protection are not entitled to be here. But the problem is, and that's when we see the first decisions that are made, they are actually rejected. But the problem is it takes 2 years for the final decision to be made, and in those 2 years we need to provide accommodation, we need to provide services for those individuals, and that means in some cases that people who are fleeing war and persecution, who do need our support, who do need our shelter, are lying in tents in places in Dublin. Okay. So we need to triple the number of people who are processing it, and people who are refused entry into this, or a decision is made, they need to be returned home. What we have is deportation orders. Deportation, yeah,
it's a bad one.
And deportation orders, when they are signed, need to be followed through on. The reliance on this government on self-deportation needs to end.
But the government says that
great failure by the government and all parties and the opposition. There's been no opposition, and this is why they've got away with it.
Over and over again,
and
we brought forward the motions in terms of the Ukrainian protection accommodation entry wasn't even there when we were raising these issues.
Listen, will there ever be a stage that we have a crisis point in our health system that we need to say, okay, we need to regroup and restock here? Because we had a fantastic method of dealing with people. We were recognised the world over. This is the reality. This is taking the right of freedom of people to speak about this honestly and openly.
No, people should absolutely be, but 2/3 of people. The problem is
you can't keep people coming in and not have responsibility.
But the problem is that 2/3 of the people, that's about 15,000 people every year, are not entitled to be here. They're not fleeing war and persecution as a result of the rules, and therefore they have to be here.
I apologise?
That's the problem. They're taking too long to process them.
Apologies for cutting over, Pierce. I do accept that Sinn Féin has now come on board with us.
With Patrick Devine.
No, I didn't say Patrick Devine, Mary, with respect. I said I do accept Sinn Féin had Mary Lou as leader of the Sinn Féin welcomed an open border policy.
No, we didn't.
You did,
No,
Pierce.
we did not.
I
need to call out those lies. Now, that is not true. That is not true.
Are you calling me a liar,
I'm
Pierce?
calling out what you said as a lie. I'm calling what you said as a lie.
It's not a lie, Pierce.
I can produce.
Don't be using the word lie unless you're going to.
I can produce our manifesto from last year, which is very clear, saying we are not open borders.
He answered that.
That's a factual position.
It's not a factual position.
It is a factual
You've
position.
changed your position.
No,
that's a factual position.
No, I'll change there. I would say
Okay, well, I don't think we're going to reach agreement on that one, so we're going to take a break, and then look, a couple of hours are flying through. We don't have very much longer, but stay right where you are.
Not a creature was stirring, not even a... Merry Christmas!
How long to cook a £20 turkey? Oh, God.
Not as cheating. Everyone, smile!
Sean, smile.
Join us at 3 and capture the chaos of Christmas with the super fast, super smart iPhone 16. Now €99 on 3 bill pay. Subject to bringing your number to 3's Freedom 5G plan. Direct debit and 24-month minimum term required. Come in store or see3.ie.
Next year, we're going abroad.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
The 9 till Noon Show with the Silver Tassie Hotel, the perfect venue for a Christmas get-together. Serving festive lunch, afternoon tea, dinner and drinks throughout December. Follow Silver Tassie Hotel on Facebook and Instagram.
Get into the festive spirit with amazing Christmas value at Aldi. A choice of festive party food, including mini veggie spring rolls from just 99¢. Unbeatable value on Guinness 12 500ml can pack, now only 19.88. And oh crumbs, wait till you hear this. From November 21st to Elite chocolate tea cakes, now only €7.99 each. Save €5. Aldi, have a cracking Christmas. While stocks last, quantity restrictions apply. Get the facts, be drinkaware, visit drinkaware.ie. Deposit return scheme may apply.
Ladies, are you seeking expert gynecology care? At Greenview Medical Centre in Letterkenny, we're here to help. Whether it's advanced fertility treatments, specialised pelvic floor care, or a routine gynecology examination, our expert team offers the care you need in a comfortable setting, all without the hassle of a GP referral. Book your appointment easily online at greenviewmedicalcentre.ie. Greenview Medical Centre, Riverside Retail Park, Letterkenny, a new health horizon.
Me and the Minions are on a road trip. Yeah! To spread the word that Sky Full Fibre Broadband is now available in more homes across Ireland.
Voila!
So, Stuart, where are we going? Okay, Letterkenny. Then Lifford. Oh, and Bundoran too. Keep an eye out for 99.9% reliable Sky Full Fibre Broadband. Well, crank up the tunes, Kevin. Okay. And off we go. Search Sky Broadband today. Availability subject to location. See sky.ie/speeds.
TFI Local Link has enhanced bus services around the Inishowen Peninsula, including routes 952, 954, 957 and 966, and new route 959. The routes operate up to 7 daily return services and offer peak time and evening services, as well as providing improved connectivity to Airfort Donegal, ATU Donegal and the Ulster University. We're Transport for Ireland. We're Transport for you. See locallinkdsl.ie. Brought to you as part of the Connecting Ireland Rural Mobility Plan.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
What's going on?
That's like the third or fourth Garda car that sped up the village. Something is up.
Ballyglasane. New drama series every Wednesday night at 8 on Highland Radio.
Join John Breslin and the Highland Radio Outside Broadcasting this Thursday from 12 noon till 2:30 p.m. for a live broadcast from our McCullough Jewelers Main Street, Letterkenny. With all the top brands, it's the perfect place to find that special gift this Christmas.
Are you ready to flip, tumble and soar over to Michael Murphy Sports to get your hands on the Kids Gymnastics Gym Range? The ultimate gift for the young gymnast in your family. Whether they're just starting or perfecting their routine, Kids Gymnastics has everything from wedge mats to balance beams in a range of vibrant colours and styles. See michaelmurphysports.ie.
Thinking of getting a new car in 2025? Why not get one in 2026 as well? Buy a selected 251 Nissan and we'll replace it with a 261 Nissan for free. For details about this and all our 251 offers, contact your local Nissan dealer or visit nissan.ie. Nissan. Defy ordinary. Terms and conditions apply.
Tommy Fleming brings his Christmas concert to Dunlewy Theatre Gweedore this Saturday night, 30th of November. A night of folk, Irish and contemporary classics with Tommy and his band. Last few tickets available now from TommyFleming.com or at the venue. Tommy Fleming, Dunlewy Theatre Gweedore this Saturday.
Black November at Yisk with fantastic offers. Save up to 70% on our wide assortment within indoor furniture. For example, save up to 70% on selected dining or office chairs. Yisk.
Scandinavian sleeping and living.
Enjoy real savings this Christmas at Super Value, like half-price Super Value Fresh Irish Lamb Leg and Super Value Fresh Irish Pork Loin. Scan your card or app and get selected Fairy, Persil, Velvet, Bold and Ariel ranges, any two for €16. And Kellogg's Rice Krispies 660 gram, now €3. Share the magic this Christmas with Super Value.
Your one-stop shop this Christmas. Gift vouchers for the Silver Tassie Hotel and Seascape Spa are available online at silvertassiehotel.com or from hotel reception. The Silver Tassie, proud sponsors of today's show.
Now, just to let you know, our panel tomorrow, Charlie McConlogue of Fianna Fáil, Paul McLaughlin of Sinn Féin, Charles Wood, 100% redress, Vincent Bradley, independent. Nikki Bradley was scheduled to attend, but she's just contacted us to say that Minister Helen McEntee's in the county tomorrow, and she's instead going to be canvassing with her, but wishes everyone the best of luck with the debate. Right. Defective concrete blocks. This is not, I just want to be very clear here, by the way, this is not the candidate's fault. It's just time has progressed and we have 3 debates to cover. And this is in no way a reference to the importance of it, because I think we all agree in this room it is one of the top, if not the top, issues in fairness. So my apologies that not as much time is going to be given as it deserves, but that's my fault. Pat the Cope Gallagher. I suppose, do you sign up to the People's Document? Do you sort of, are your views aligned with the government on the approach to dealing with this crisis?
Well, my view is that there has to be 100% redress. I'm aware of the human impact, the nightmare that it has for many families, and in the early stages, many householders weren't able to take advantage of the scheme that was in place, but is improving all the time. But we must ensure that there's 100% redress and that the scheme must be monitored as we go along. And if it has to be changed, then it has to be changed. And there will be an increase, of course, based on inflation over the next number of years. So, in short, and with the limited time, I favour those who are affected by this plague that is on their homes, that they should get 100% redress.
Is it a red line for you, though, in terms of if you get elected to Fianna Fáil's red line, we must change this scheme to make sure it is 100% redress?
Well, I'll monitor it as I go along. The redress have a candidate in the county who will represent them if that candidate is elected. But I will work within the parliamentary party, and that's the system, and I'll be working in the best interest of those who have been affected. And I know the human factor is here. And also, can I just say that the banks have to play an important role here. They have to ensure that money is provided to commence the stage, because the government will provide money on a stage basis, but you cannot start it if you don't have the money.
John McNulty, you're quite strong in your remarks in relation to this. Do you believe the current scheme's fit for purpose?
I feel at least it needs a whole review of the scheme, because I look at it. Look, I mean, the pyritate's the big one there, and when the pyritate's in the blocks and it's in the phones, the house, the only thing is demolition, and it really have to look at that. And you have to be fair to the people of Donegal, and again, and I look at them. I realise there are other counties as well, but I would look for that. There's definitely a junior minister in housing dedicated to this, because this is going to be a national problem.
Just in relation to that, obviously, your party colleague Joe McHugh, it was a red line for him because the government didn't do what the people wanted. He actually stepped out of the party. So it's not a red line for you then. I mean, if you get elected, you're going to go in there and you're not going to take as strong a stance on the man that's not running for election.
Well, I think I will take a very strong stance on it, because I've also spoke to Simon Harris in relation to that, and he has already said that he'll opt for a 6-month review on that.
What does that mean, by the way? What did he say to you that was?
Well, what I consider that there is that the overall scheme, how it's worked, and what's right and what's wrong with it. And I explained to him what
I thought the scheme was designed to be constantly reviewed. That was the way the scheme was designed. So he's committing to a review of a scheme that's in constant review.
Yeah, which is going to include, we'd say, the childcare facilities and all the GA facilities, and those people that need those fixed as well. So that's very important. So I look at, and I'm very passionate about that. And I believe if Fine Gael are back in government, that it's important to have a TD in Donegal to represent them.
Doherty.
Look, you know, I think the people of Donegal are fantastic, and when we have crises and tragedy, they rally around each other. And this election is different from all others because there's about 7,000 people out there that their homes are crumbling, their mental health is crumbling, in some cases families are failing. And I really plead to people to rally around those individuals wherever you are in Donegal. The stark reality is every party has produced their manifesto. Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael are not committed to 100% redress end-to-end scheme. That is fact.
Okay.
But is Sinn Féin is only, let me just finish this. Sinn Féin is the only party that can lead the next government that is committed to 100% end-to-end scheme, and
just
we will
just in
deliver
relation to that, you know, there's going to be people listening in Derry, Tyrone, and perhaps elsewhere in the north who will be in defective homes as well. Your government's, your party's in government there. I know it's a blunt instrument, but I googled Michelle O'Neill's name in Micah, and I googled Michelle O'Neill's name in defective concrete block. I couldn't find a press release or a newspaper article where those two terms featured together. Now, I'm not saying she didn't, don't get me wrong, right? But I mean, what are you doing? If you're not doing anything about it in the north, how can anyone trust you to do anything about it in the south?
Well, first of all, Greg, those issues are acutely aware in terms of the north as well. But let's be clear, we're fighting an election on Friday where people can elect a government. And there's one thing for sure, if you support Fianna Fáil...
You've never been in government, so we can only go by your history in power.
And if you want to have a debate about the northern election, that's fine. But let me make this point. If people are concerned about their families, their neighbours and friends, if you vote Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, it's likely that they will go back into government, and they are not committed to 100% redress. They're not committed to an end-to-end scheme. It is only Sinn Féin that can lead the next government, and we will rebuild those houses 100%
Arthur,
and an end-to-end scheme.
I get you. Arthur, go ahead.
And there is the best thing you have to tumble the houses and rebuild, right? Because that problem, is bad in Greencastle. I've heard a lot of people saying about that.
So would you be in favour of fully demolishing these properties and the state paying for Okay.
And you have to rebuild.
And you'd fight for that in the Dáil?
Yes, because...
Okay.
Because it was bad blocks, right? And them blocks, they shouldn't have been used, Greg.
Mm-hmm. I get you. Right, Frank O'Donnell.
Yeah, there's a problem, a serious problem with the quantity surveyors of Ireland have come out and done a report in 2021, and they give the square footage, what like for like houses, what would the cost factor be? So naively on my part, I wrote off the housing agency and requested that this list of contractor builders would be supplied to me. So when I go around the doors and meet people that are affected with defective blocks, I would hand them a list, and they would say to me, Frank, we're getting a grant, but it's only a grant that's putting us in debt. But I would say, no, here's the builder contractors who are signed up to the Quantity Surveyors of Ireland, to the housing agency, and this
so they can build the house to the square footage cost. That's what you're saying.
On the same square footage cost. Naively, on my part, I wrote off 3 times now to the chairman. I'm not going to mention his name. I don't personalise politics, but I wrote after him 3 times and asked, could I have the list? Before I came up here this morning, I phoned, and they said they'd come back to me.
So you don't have this list?
So this, either 2 things. They said, Frank O'Donnell doesn't matter. He's only a candidate in Donegal, or they don't have the list. I would, in the second part of it, I would say the list doesn't exist, and I think that's deplorable.
Okay. Jerry McKeever.
Did you have to check?
No, I was just saying. I was saying who spoke and didn't speak so far. And apologies to John. We're going to just run in just for 5 minutes here.
I'll be quick.
No, I'm not. Every time I speak to you, it feels like I'm rushing you. That's not the intention. Go ahead, Jerry.
It's okay. What about those people that can't afford to get in the scheme? I think an elderly couple in Riddies wrote into Highland there last month and said they couldn't afford it. I think they meet people in their cars outside. I spoke to a woman in Convoy who has 2 houses, and it's not my fault, I'm not a politician yet, but she got angry with me, and I let her get angry because she had to vent it somewhere. She had to get out somewhere. We are the forgotten county. I mean, you know, to take it a wee bit in another direction, we're part of an 8-county group in this west and north of the country who really 18% of the population up here. We get less than 10% of the infrastructure spend. We are the forgotten county, and Galway's in that group. I would assume Galway gets more than we do per head of population. We are very much. We need politicians that will stand up for Donegal and fight this for us and call things out to a massive degree. I would work with any party that will follow up my housing policy in particular, but I would join a party that would stand very firmly on defective block, possibly.
That's quite an interesting statement. And Mary T, last but not least.
The most effective thing about the defective box scheme is the scheme itself. And I have to hold every one of the people in Donegal County Council and the government parties to blame because they have made it so complicated and laborious for people to try and complete.
Is it in Ain't Two's programme for government or their alternative budget? Is there any funding in it for...
The fund, I intend to push for the Apple funding to be dedicated to identify as we've a crisis level.
Turned up to any of the hearings in there. None of the hearings he's turned up to, and I think it was
we
really
have one
disrespectful.
TD.
I know, but he's on the committee. He's on the committee.
That is
actually.
the most. That is
but
the
he's
most,
on the committee, and he didn't even turn up to the
he
committee.
He has just received the accolade for being the hardest working TD.
I know, but do you regret, given the fact do you regret he didn't turn up?
I have no idea. I would think he did, but I don't know.
He didn't turn up.
So I would think that's unfortunately deflecting the issue to stop me from speaking, but I will continue.
Let you speak, so carry on.
I know you will, Greg. You're very kind to me. But I would say I've written in on the 5th of November looking for the tests on the building materials historically and currently, and I implore whoever is elected before people continue to build, and some have built on old foundations, these government ministers are all equally responsible and culpable and identifying that they have been told a long time ago in the Clanry Hotel when the experts came over from all across Europe to say that the material that they're looking at is more than what you're currently testing for. You are not. You're allowing people to build.
Yes, of course, Pat,
and I have no confidence in the current materials until we see scientific evidence that they are.
And I think we raised a very important question about the hospital that's being built quite close to us.
But in short, no family should be adversely financially impacted by the defective scheme. And I'll continue to prioritise the funding of the scheme, including further reviews as necessary.
Right, okay. As I say, the amount of time we gave that issue is no fault to any of the candidates here. I want to just make that absolutely clear, by the way. That's I wouldn't say it's my fault because we're going to talk about it extensively over the next couple of days as well. But there was an awful lot to get through, so I don't want you to hold that against anyone in this room. It just was a timing issue here. Frank O'Donnell, Independent, thank you very much for coming in. Arthur Desmond McGuinness, nice to speak to you. Jerry McKeever, appreciate your time as well. Pierce Doherty of Sinn Féin, thank you very much indeed. Mary T. Sweeney of Ain't Do, John McNulty of Fine Gael, and Pat the Cope Gallagher. And we'll be back with a whole new panel tomorrow morning just after 10. My apologies to John and his listeners, by the way, for delaying getting to him, and the news, in fact. But we'll be back he'll be back with you very, very shortly. Have a good day.